Hello everybody, and welcome back to the second part of this tutorial series where we are taking a design of a landing page or a landing page of a freelance agency, and we are learning about UI UX design and more particularly web design by creating this landing page and learning topics such as design principles and how to find inspiration and ideas for your design. So in the previous part, we have created this navigation bar at the top here, as you can see. Today we're going to be focusing on the hero section. So the hero section is one of the most important parts for your website. Okay, so it is the first thing that your users will see. It is the first thing that will either captivate your users or throw them off. So it's very important. So how are we gonna get the inspiration and the ideas for this hero section? So what I like to do is I just like to start working on it and let the ideas flow. Okay, so we're gonna get the ideas and what we should do as we create it. So obviously the first thing in a hero section is the headline. So the headline is some text that will be the first thing that your users will probably see. So your user's eye will be directly in this headline. So that's the first thing they're going to see, and that will be giving them an idea of your product. So the headline, actually UI UX design is not just about the graphics, the circles, the squares. It's about the content, is how you get your users attention. So we're going to be looking into how we can write this headline. So the first thing you want to do is you want to not make it obvious. Okay, so for example, this freelance agency landing page. So we don't want to say freelance get closer, freelance agency website. This is not good. This is not something obvious. This is what we want to do. Instead is we want to captivate our users, get their attention. We can try saying something like find the best clients and freelancers, right? So this is short. This is not this I gotta admit, this mini course here, this tutorial series, is more focused on the design part. So I'm not going to be delving much into the copyright, but let's say this is it. Find the best clients and freelancers. It's short, it's simple, and it gives your users the idea right away. We can say the best clients and freelancers on the internet. And we can continue from this. Next, we want to make this headline bigger. Okay, so the rule of visual hierarchy is that this should be the first thing that your users notice about your website. So how do we do that? One thing we can do is by making it bigger. Okay, so here I'm choosing 48 pixels because I worked on many websites before, and 48 pixels is like a good standard, and it worked great. So obviously you have to work on many websites. Okay, you have to work on many designs before you get the eye for what's right and what's wrong. So that's something you learn when you just practice. So practice is the most important thing in learning any skill, especially UI UX design. So let us center align it, and now we can put it in the center. Okay, so find the best clients and freelancers on the internet. So obviously, to give it more attention, we can make it semi-bold, and let's just make it wider. And now, directly, more than anything here, this is the first thing that your users were going to be seeing. Okay, next we need a subheadline. Okay, subheadline. So a subheadline comes after the headline, and this is meant to make your users understand the actual software, the actual app, the actual business you're promoting. Okay, so let's make it 14 pixels because it's got to be a bit smaller. And now, since this is a freelance agency, now this has to be like descriptive. It has to tell your users what this website actually is, what it does, why you should use it, why you want to use it. You'll say, let's say, what's the name of, so it's Client Finder, right? The name of the website. So you gotta say Client Finder is a software that helps you find clients and freelancers, find quality clients and freelancers in the most efficient way possible. So now this is descriptive. You are describing what your app does and you're telling your users directly, right? So this is what we want. So here we're going to be using actually we have these colors, right? So we have selected these colors, and here we will want to, from the library, we would want to select the color which was gray, right? The reason we are doing that, so I can't seem to find it sometimes. Figma has this property. So let's see what the color actually is. So we're not actually committing the color, so let's do that. Let's say gray, and this is a lighter gray, so we're gonna say about 700. Yeah, 700 seems good. And we're gonna create the variable. We're gonna make this black into our variable too. This is something you need to use in Figma to make your design more consistent. So gray 700. Okay, now the problem here is the contrast. Okay, so here the contrast might not be the best. So what we can do is, the reason we are using local variables in Figma is so that we can just select the variable once and edit it. So now we can change it everywhere. So let's just make it a bit darker. And that works. So 8A, 8A, 8A. Okay, great. So now the reason we decreased the contrast or the visibility for this one is since we want this to be more visible and we don't want this to share the spotlight. So let's move on. We have the headline, the sub-headline, and we can place this actually wherever we want. We're not going to be focusing on where to place them, the layout. We're going to be focusing on each individual element. We're going to be seeing how we can make them better, look better. So next we would need a CTA or a call to action. So as we did in this nav bar over here, we would need a CTA for the hero section, right? So now we just duplicate it. Control D is the way to do that. And here, find talent, we can say get started. So this is just directly giving the user something to click, something to do. We can say get started, and we can make this button more interesting. How can we do that? Perhaps we can give it an icon, right? So we can go here, polygon, and we can create this polygon here. Make it a bit smaller, 16 by 16. Rotate it -19 pixels to be like an arrow, and we can say flatten to get rid of the extra space, and we can place this here. Now we can go here, 8 pixels maybe, yeah, that seems good. 8 pixel spacing between the text and the icon, and we want to make this icon white. Now this is better because, sorry, let's just decrease its height to 12. We want this to be the most, like, the the call to action that stands out the most. You can use an email form here if you want. You can use whatever. You can use a secondary button for example, for, we can say learn more. Let's do that actually. So a secondary button, let's get rid of this one and say learn more, because we want the user to be able to understand more about our product. So that's why. But there's a problem here. The problem is that this is taking as much hierarchy, visual hierarchy. So it's taking as much spotlight as it does this button. But we want this button to be more noticeable. So we have to make this different. So we can just take out the fill and give it a stroke. Okay, the stroke now, we can say the stroke is a gray color. Okay, a gray color such as this one, and we can actually add this gray and make it a bit lighter, right? It's gray 800. Yeah, so this gray color, actually we can change the names, by the way. We can come here to the 700, and I would like to change it to 600, and it will be applied. So here the text, we want, instead of being white, we want it to be black. So now this learn more button is less noticeable than this get started button. So the user's first idea would be to click this rather than this. Now we would like the users to learn more about our product, but the primary purpose of the landing page is to sell your product, is to convince users that they need your product and they want to purchase it. So that's why we do this. So the get started button. Okay, so the buttons here are working great. Again, you can just place these wherever you want, because at the moment we are not worrying about the layout. I'm just placing it like this to make it easier to work with. So this is actually the only thing you need in your landing page. So you would have a snapshot of your website here, of the actual app. You might have a video. This might be a video, right? Or you might have some other stuff here. You can get creative with it. But since we don't have neither the snapshots or we don't have a video for our app, this is fake, by the way. So since we don't have anything at the moment, we're going to be just keeping it here, and we're going to be using some design patterns, and we're going to be using design accents to make this more interesting. So this is the hero section. Okay, so this is the content of the hero section. Now our design might look bland here, might look very simple, but we're going to be adding many stuff here to make it more interesting. Again, I'm coming with the ideas, with the inspiration, with the layout real time. I have not prepared. So the main purpose of this tutorial is also to show you how you can get the ideas. So first, let's lay out our primary content. Before we want to make our design interesting, modern, let's actually lay out the primary look, or the primary elements of our website. So first, let's group the headlines and rename them headline, since we have a headline and a sub headline. We can also say copyrights, 16 pixel gap would be nice. Here also, let's group the CTAs and 16 pixel gap here too. Consistency is key. Then let's group this, and this has to be more than 16 pixels, because obviously the copyright and the call to actions have different level of connectivity. So that's one way of, let's rename it hero content. Let's rename it hero, and we're going to change it in the future. So this here has a different connectivity. These two has different connectivity than this does with this. So we have to make it bigger. That's how you come up with spacing ideas. So if you're feeling like you don't know or you don't understand spacing, it's easy. Figure out how connected your elements are. For example, these are much closer together since they are more connected than these three in general. Okay, so let's just give it 32, right? 32 meaning 16 times 2, or we can increase it. It's the 36. Yes, 36 looks good to me. So now we can do something. We can either center align it. If we decide that this is all our hero section will have, we can center align it. But I don't think that's the best choice. First of all, let's just select our view and let's make it a bit smaller. Okay. We're going to be adding much more to the landing page. Many more sections, right? But for now, let's just keep it here. Let's make it a bit bigger. Let's give ourselves a bit more space. Now let's go here. Okay. I would like it to be some what's related to this. So first, I would like it maybe to be 96 pixels, which is I think a good height. But 96 pixels would make us need to add extra content here. Okay, so if you're getting your design this much space, this space needs to be utilized. So we can't currently do that because we don't have the design, the actual application image or stuff like that. So we have to be creative. So what we're going to do here, we're going to be leaving this at 96 pixels, and we're going to be adding an image. Okay, here an image. We're going to be adding an image that will describe our software. That will describe how our software uses, how the users of our software are benefited, how our software makes them happy. So we're going to be using that, but for now we don't have it. So I think that might be the purpose of the next section, to do that. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave some placeholder. Okay, so we're gonna be, let's give it a corner radius of 16 pixels. Let's just here. Yeah, okay, so then we can place it here. So equal spacing, right? So we're going to be adding an image in the next part. We're going to be creating an image. We're going to be adding it here. So we're going to be using some design elements like vectors and other stuff to make the design more interesting. And we're going to be creating the elements or the images from just stock images, right? We're going to be using stock images, but we're going to be creative with it, and we're going to be we're going to be using Figma. Let's say hero image. We're going to be using Figma design elements, right? Like shapes, vectors, and we're going to be creating it. So that's for the next part. For today, let's just focus on making the the hero section more interesting as it is. So the first thing I like to do here, I had the idea. Okay, so I've been looking at Dribble designs. Okay, so that's one place you can get inspiration. Dribble is very important. You can go just scroll on Dribble for hours, 30 minutes, however much you want, and inspiration will just strike you sometimes. Okay, so we're going to be using that. So my idea was to lay out a grid. Okay, from here to here, let's say a line. Okay, so let's say this some line we have, and let's give it great 800. Okay, So now this is a grid, but I don't like it to be this contrasty, and I'm gonna select it and make it like very light. I think this is good enough. This is good enough. We're gonna be saying that this is gray 900, because we will not be getting any wider than that. So let's say this is our grid. Okay, we can select it and duplicate it. Let's say duplicate a couple of times. Okay, then we can go here and select all of them, and we can group them and make them in an auto layout. Give them some space in between them, and now that maybe 36 would be good, just to be more consistent. Okay, so now we have this grid that will act as a background pattern. So as you can see here, it is a grid, but I don't like it being this obvious. This is just some lines put together and put in the background. So instead we're going to be doing something. But first, let's actually duplicate the grid system and shift them, okay? So the reason we're doing this is to make it, okay, first let's select everything here, and let's just, okay, actually let's just do this. Let's just, so because we want our grid to be both horizontal and vertical, so this might be a bit difficult for now, but let's see. Let's just put them on 90 degrees and make them wider. We can select all the vectors here and make them fill the container with their widths. Okay, so as we fill the container, you're seeing that our grid is becoming more visible. Here you can see the grid, right? So this is the kind of effect we want for our background. Okay, so okay, let's actually select them again. Okay, fill container. Okay, now it will work. So now you can see that it's a complete grid going all over the background of our design. So we didn't need to purchase any expensive asset. This is just made in Figma, and it's very simple. So let's just, so now we're going to be creating a cool effect here. So what we want is this background pattern to be laid in front of a gradient system. So first let's group them and make them grid, okay? So what we want to do is we want to select, okay, actually let's just delete this. Okay, let's just, so this grid will be locked to the background. So now we can now move it or interact with it. It's just there in the background. So now we're going to be creating a square that goes all over the background, our website, and we're going to be putting the square in the back. So just the grid will be behind the square, okay? So now we're going to take the rectangle here and give it a grid. Now this grid will be going from white, okay, full white, to full white but invisible, and we would actually want to swap them out here. Okay, so look, this effect is cool. When you get it closer, the grid becomes more visible. But when you get this closer, you can see that the grid here is not just patterns of the background, but they are actually fading. So now we have created this cool effect of grid, and we have made our design much more interesting, not by using expensive illustrations, icons, or anything, but by using just Figma and becoming creative. So let's just clean this up, and let's just say this is grid BG, and let's just group this and say grid pattern system. And I would like to say that this is an accent instead of the part of the design. Let's just unlock this since these are locked. Yeah, hero image will be, this is temporary, right? Temporary. So these are just what we have done. We have created the navbar in the previous section part. Which if you haven't seen this, it's a good idea to check it out, by the way. So the navbar, then the navbar should be on top. Then the hero section, we are creating the hero section. We're not done with this. Then we have the grid system. So once everything in the hero section is finished, by the way, we're gonna select them and we're gonna group them into a hero section. Yeah, so for now, I think this is good enough to stop today. We have discussed about how we can find inspiration and become creative to create our own assets so that we don't rely on expensive stock images, or buying illustrations or something. People think they need money to create good designs, but it's not true. You can create designs with just by being creative. Okay, so we're gonna be focusing more on the hero section in the next part. For today, thanks for watching. I really hope you got something value from this series. Thank you for the support, but actually the previous video just did so well. Okay, so until next time, goodbye.